Hi everyone, I feel very happy to meet you all once again through this video. In this video, I have given the summary and the poetical devices of Standard 12 Unit 1 poem The Castle written by Edwin Muir. It's an allegorical poem. It brings out the message that one should not be overconfident of their external strength and power because at times overlooking the inner faults can lead to downfall, just like that of the castle, which had strong gates, high and thick walls, yet it was overthrown because of the betrayal by one of the soldiers within the castle, for which the other soldiers had no weapon to fight. Let's begin with the poet introduction. Poet introduction. Edwin Muir. Edwin Muir is a Scottish poet, novelist and translator. Born on a farm in Dearness, a parish of Orkney, Scotland, he is remembered for his deeply felt and vivid poetry written in plain language and with few stylistic preoccupations. When he was 14, his father lost his farm and the family moved to Glasgow. In quick succession, his father, 2 brothers, and his mother died within the space of a few years. His life as a young man was a depressing experience. He suffered psychologically in a most destructive way, although perhaps the poet of later years benefited from these experiences. I will read the lines and explain. You can make notes out of it. All through that summer at East Valley, and daily from the turret wall, we watched the mowers in the hay. In this first stanza, the poet depicts the building confidence of the soldiers. They were in the castle throughout the summer. They lay at ease as they were relaxed. They used to watch the outside activities from the turret wall. A turret wall is a small tower on top of the castle. From there they could see the mowers. Grass cutters are also called as mowers. Since it's summer, they were collecting the hay outside the castle. And the enemy half a mile away. They seemed no threat to us at all. From the turret wall, the soldiers could see the enemies also. They were about half a mile away from the castle, but they were not at all a threat to the castle. The soldiers were so confident that no danger would befall them. For what we thought had we to fear, with our arms and provender load on load, our towering battlements tier on tier. In the second stanza, the poet cements the confidence of the soldiers. They felt that they need not fear for anything, for they had ample supply of weapons and provender. Provender means food. And their towering battlements, that is the place or openings, from there they would shoot their enemies, was on a tier system, one upon the other. The best example for tier is, you would have seen in Indian railway coaches written 2-tier and 3-tier, which means the berth one upon the other. In the same way, in the castle, the openings for shooting was on a tier system. And friendly alleys drawing near on every leafy summer road. And the friendly alleys or the supporting countries were near to the castle on leafy road, showing the happiness of spring in the surrounding. Whereas, where were the enemies? Yes, right. They were quite far, about half a mile from the castle. These things increase the confidence level of the soldiers. Our gates were strong, our walls were thick, so smooth and high, no man could win. A foothold there, no clever trick, could take us dead or quick. Only a bird could have got in. The third stanza further builds the confidence of the soldiers. They strongly believed that no one could ever break in the strong gates and the thick and high walls. They held such a strong position that no one could play any tricks to take the soldiers dead or quick. Here quick means alive. Only a bird which soars high in the sky could get inside the castle. In this line, the poet emphasizes the height of the castle. What could they offer us for bait? Our captain was brave and we were true. The fourth stanza begins with a rhetorical question. The soldiers were confident that they could not be lured by anyone to take them out of the castle or put them into danger, because their captain was brave and the soldiers too were true and loyal. There was a little private gate, a little wicked gate. The wizened warder led them through. The confidence of the soldiers was broken by an old guard. Wizened warder means old guard. He led the enemies in through a little gate in the castle. The word wicket also means gate. The repetition of the word is to give stress to the point that betrayal happened through the gate. The soldier here actually calls the guard wicked because he only led the enemies through that gate. Oh, then our maze of tunneled stone grew thin and treacherous as air. After the change of the fortune of the castle, things which were considered to be strong and sure are now seen as ineffectual and problematic. The castle, which had maze of tunnels, that is confusing paths inside, has been invaded. It's no more confusing. The presence of enemies inside the castle made the thick walls to be felt as thin. Even the atmosphere seemed to be disloyal to them due to the presence of the enemies. The cause was lost without a groan, the famous citadel overthrown, and all its secret galleries bare. The castle was lost without a real battle, so there was no crying or groaning. A strong and safe fort had been overthrown by betrayal. The secret galleries, which used to be filled with ample supply of arms and food, were looted and became empty. How can this shameful tale be told? I will maintain until my death. We could do nothing, being sold. Our only enemy was gold, and we had no arms to fight with it. The final stanza again begins with a rhetorical question. The soldier is ashamed of the story of betrayal. He didn't have the guts to tell the story, but he would maintain and believe until his death that they were helpless for being sold. They had no arms to fight the so-called enemy, gold or betrayal. The soldiers' confidence sprang from their protective barriers rather than their actual strengths and capabilities. Otherwise, their defenses against the invasion would likely have had more success. Though it is the justification of the soldier that they could do nothing, maybe if the soldiers had taken the time to explore their inward details, they would have noticed the treachery before it happened and saved the castle. Now let's see the poetical devices used in this poem. It is an allegorical poem that involves characters and events that stand for an abstract idea or event. Here the betrayal by one of the persons within the castle was the reason for the downfall of the castle, which brings out the allegory. Rhyme scheme. All the 6 stanzas of the poem follows the same rhyme scheme of A-B, A-A, B. Now let us see the figures of speech used in the given lines. First one, a little wicked wicket gate. The figure of speech used here is transferred epithet. A transferred epithet is a figure of speech in which a modifier, usually an adjective, qualifies noun other than the person or the thing it is actually describing. Here the adjective wicked actually doesn't directly refer the gate. Instead it refers the guard who was wicked and let the enemies in. Second one, O then are maze of tunneled stone. It is metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of speech that describes an object or action in a way that isn't literally true. In other words, indirect comparison is made. The parts inside the castle is compared to a puzzle. Hence it is metaphor. Third one, grew thin and treacherous as air. The figure of speech is simile. You all know very well that simile is a figure of speech that directly compares two things using as and like. Here the comparison is made using as. Hence it is simile. Fourth one, how can this shameful tale be told? It is rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is a figure of speech in which a questioner doesn't expect a direct answer. Here the soldier puts a question without expecting an answer. Hence it is rhetorical question. The fifth one, our only enemy was gold. The figure of speech used is personification. When inanimate objects are given human characteristics, it is personification. Here, gold is given the human characteristics of enemy. Hence, it is personification. Alliteration. You all know very well what is an alliteration. The occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words are called alliteration. So from the following lines, find out the words of alliteration. Then read the poem and pick out the rhyming words from the poem. Hope you all enjoyed and understood the poem. So children, read the poem and write the summary on your own. Happy learning.